Well, hey, everybody. Good morning. Hang on. Why do I not hear myself? Hey. Do I hear myself now? Check. There we go. It's time for Mike in the Midwest. That's why next Friday, these sound effects will be so loud because I had my mic turned down. Oops. There we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 279 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, which you can find at beourguestpodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify. We're there. And hey, while you're there, give us a rating and review. We'd really appreciate that this week. But hey, let's skip all that and let's just get to the good stuff. I'm glad that you're here. That's the important thing. I hope that you're warm this weekend. I hope that you're safe, and I hope that life is treating you well. And as always, thank you so very much for being a patron of the Be Our Guest podcast. We could not do this show without you guys. Thanks for your contribution every month. It does mean so much. So thank you for being there. Really, truly, it does. Just glad you're here and hope you're enjoying the shows, Monday shows. Hope you're enjoying the trip reports, Wednesdays. I hope you maybe get some use out of the listener questions. If not, I hope you get a couple chuckles out of maybe terrible answers. And Fridays, hope you enjoy the topical shows. Hope we try to mix it up enough that maybe we try to take a good spin on fun topics. I don't know. It's hard after doing almost 3,000 shows to kind of come up with creative new ideas, but we're trying. And if you guys ever have any feedback, you guys know how to get a hold of me. Many ways. Mike at beourguestpodcast.com. You can send me a message on x.com. I'm at beourguestmike. Of course, come over to the clubhouse, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. I'm in there all the time. Send me a message there. Just jump in any of the threads. I am super accessible, and this is always our show. It's not my show. It's not Scott's. It's not Ricky's. It's not Pam's. It's all of ours. It's something that, especially with our show, the type of show we have to all do this together. That's why it's called Be Our Guest. It's exactly what I was thinking. Seriously, I was totally thinking this back in 2008 when we started the show. I mean, it's a two-way street because it was a trip report show. Originally, it was only going to be trip reports. It was not going to be listener questions. There really wasn't going to be a Friday show. It was just going to be oral trip reports. And it was going to be me and a guest. So it was going to be like a 50-50 split between the listeners and me. And it still kind of is. It's a communal show. So if you ever have anything, you say, hey, let's try this. I love the listener questions once a week, or not the listener questions, but the open line once a week, because that's where we get to literally turn the show over to you guys. You want to talk about anything? Call in. Let's hash it out. You guys get to talk about, you bring the topics to the table. We get to hear from you guys. And of course, every Monday, that's another listener too. So I think that is kind of unique with our podcast, but I love it because I am proud of the fact that with our show, you do get to hear not just the four of us, but you get to hear from our listeners, our community every single week, which I think is super cool because that is the strength of our show is our listeners. You guys are the best. You guys are the experts. You guys are just there. You guys are the passionate fans. So I appreciate y'all. Anyway, hope you're doing great. So what is going on around here? Getting ready to go to Disneyland on Wednesday. So super stoked for that. I mean, it seems like I just got back from Walt Disney World. It's kind of weird because I really don't have any other trips planned for the rest of the year. And I'm having these 2 in a month. But that's just kind of how the schedule falls. It's kind of nice, I guess, because you're trained up since they're both running events, but excited. I'm going out there. I'm staying at the Howard Johnson again, which I enjoyed last year immensely. Have my 5-day park hopper with Lightning Lane. I mean, if you're going to go big, I guess, because I'm going to get there on Wednesday, taking my flight is, I think, at 10:20 a.m. out of St. Louis. I land about 12:40. That's the joy of one, having a nonstop to LAX, going into LAX this time. That was the cheapest flight, and going west. It's a 4-hour flight, two time zone changes. And also, what was I going to say? Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up, this is my first time flying Southwest where we'll have assigned seating because the assigned seating thing goes into effect 2 days before my flight on Wednesday. I think it starts Monday. Uh, so that'll be interesting. So I don't know if you have to do like because I know every other time I've flown Southwest, you have to do that online check-in 24 hours before. I've always purchased early bird, so it does it automatically for me. But I think you still probably have to check in for your flight. I'm pretty sure, but you won't have to worry about like the mad scramble to get a boarding group. I don't know. I know where my seat is. It's right there on the app. So that'll be interesting to see how you board the plane with Southwest come Wednesday morning. And it's also, a 10:30 flight. I always take the first flight out, so I don't mind getting to the airport at 4:30 in the morning. I like getting up early, but it'll be like a leisurely morning. I'll probably still get up and well, I will. I'll get up and run here. And it probably won't do 14 miles Wednesday, but I'll do like a shorter run and shower and head to the airport. Maybe I'll have Bam drop me off. Who knows? So I'll get out there mid morning and or get out there in the afternoon, I should say. Fly out and get there in the afternoon and still have Wednesday evening to go to the park. I'll be probably having dinner at El Rancho del Zocalo. I love it. I'm already smiling. That's gonna be so good. I get to go to Disneyland on Wednesday night. I get to spend the night, the evening at Disneyland on Wednesday. You wake up in the morning. I see. Here it is. I sound like I should have been born in the 1800s because I'm smiling because of this fact. I'm gonna wake up in my bed on Wednesday morning, run on my treadmill. Now, this is all. Hopefully, this all happens. Run on my treadmill on Wednesday morning, and then have dinner Wednesday evening at El Rancho del Zocalo in Disneyland. That still blows my mind. That is so cool. And get to ride maybe the Matterhorn or, the Haunted Mansion or whatever. Oh my gosh, pirates out there. I'll be living my best life because I don't have anything to do Wednesday night. Like that's it. Just ride rides and just see Disneyland and have a good time, park hop. Oh, so good. I'm already so excited because I don't have anything on the agenda. Then Thursday, of course, is the expo. Little stressful because you got to do the virtual queue thing, got to do all that stuff. If there's any cool merch, you try to because I did save all my Disney gift cards from Christmas for the Disneyland Expo because there really wasn't much I needed from the Walt Disney World Expo, so I saved all that for Disneyland. So maybe there'll be like a nice jacket or something. I don't know. I kind of like the Disneyland stuff usually, so I'll go in there and check that out. And then after the expo, picking up my bibs, all that stuff, I'll have the rest of the day to go just have fun at Disneyland again on Thursday. So let's go there. And then Friday, 5K. That's a great race. Starts on Main Street. Get to wear the hot dog. Get to see all my friends again. Run. Have the rest of the day to play around at Disneyland. Another third day. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then Friday or Saturday, 10K. 10K is my favorite distance. Let's go. It's mostly in the parks. You run in and out of Disneyland DCA. That's awesome. And then the half marathon. I loved it last year. I ran a really good time last year in the half. And then that's going to be my last race for a little while. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to, plan is to leave it all out on the course and see what I got. So we'll see. I'm excited for this weekend. I love Disneyland. I love running. It's the last Disneyland race weekend for a little bit. And this will actually be my last running because of the surgery I have to have a little bit. So this is going to be it for me for a little bit. So I'm going to kind of leave it all out there and see what happens. But yeah, that's kind of where I am right now. I'm excited to go out there, and the weather looks to be pretty good. And seeing friends, having fun, selfies with everybody, meals. It's going to be a good time. So it'll be good. Get back, and then when I get back, Mallory's got game day state for it's her last ever cheer competition to go down to Springfield, Missouri, down at Drury College, where Bob Barker graduated from college. By the way, I always get my picture by Bob Barker Way. There's a street named after him, and hopefully maybe get one more state title. This one isn't as big a deal as we won the major title already. Like we're the state champs. This is a minor title, but if we could get that, that'd be like the icing on top of the cake. And that'd be cool too. So we're gonna try to do that. That's Valentine's weekend, and then we'll go from there. So lots going on around here, but I hope you're just having a good time and hanging in there. So let's hit the feedback from last week's show. Last week I kind of talked about that Yeah, it's good. Sometimes it's just good for the soul to just look around and take inventory, and there's just goodness around you. Just, just take an inventory. Like there's so many people doing remarkable things, and at the marathon, you didn't have to look far. You know, at the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, the full marathon, whatever you were doing, even if you were cheering, like people that got up in the middle of the night, that created these fabulous signs that were standing out there in the dark 30 for hours on end, and they were cheering on strangers, not only just their loved ones, but absolute strangers trying to help them achieve goals. That's a remarkable thing. That's good for the soul. Because in the real world, it seems like when you look at social media and you look at the news, it's like everybody's tearing each other down. Like everybody just jumps on each other all the time, right? You never see in the media a stranger loving on a stranger for no apparent reason, but you see it all the time at these races, and it was so good for the soul. Someone hit the feedback real quick. Trisha says up in Wisconsin, hang it. We're going to talk about the snow here in just a second. Hope you're hanging in there with the cold, not just the snow, but the cold weather. Oh my gosh, it's so cold. Trisha says, having been through labor, I don't value pain. Having never been through labor and never will, I can sympathize. I'm not going to, that has to be crazy. I almost passed out just watching Pam do it. With that said, I completed my first half at 40. Congratulations. And have been dealing with chronic pain in my hip. That morning, I was held together with KT tape. Unfortunately, my hip gave out around mile 10, and I sped walked the rest of the way, leading to shin splints. Then I walked through Magic Kingdom and Epcot because I'm stupid. I now know what it feels like to walk on peg legs because my feet were toast. I think I'm going to look for other outlets to build personal strength. Kudos to all who participated in marathon weekend. You know what? This was shortly after marathon weekend. Give it a little time, Trisha. You may be back, but and congratulations on your first half marathon. Dude, the thing is about the races, distance races, they're not easy. Like they take a toll on our bodies, and you're younger than me, definitely, but they catch up with you. Like our bodies, they just random stuff hurts, hips, knees, ankles, shins. It's wild. Like stuff just hurts and falls apart when you do these things. But there are, ways to build those things back up. And I don't know. I have a feeling we'll see you back out there on the course at some point. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I just think maybe we will. But if you want to do other things, I'm totally cool with that too. But I don't know. I'd love to see you back out there to race weekend. It'd be cool. And speaking of racer extraordinaire who has made the most remarkable comeback, could not be more proud. My friend Jody out in Cincinnati. She says, so sorry you got the cruds. Thank you. You know what? I did get the cruds, but miracle of all miracles, only had it for like 2.5 days. I thought I was going to have, when you get it, you feel like you're going to have it for 2 years. This one came and went. And I was like, thank God. That was a miracle because it was miserable. But it was like I took so much Dayquil, I probably just zapped it. I probably took away. I don't know. It was way too much, but it worked. Anyway, she said, hope you're feeling better soon. All good. Glad I got to see you during marathon weekend and give you the whatchamacallit. Oh, the whatchamacallit was so good. God, I wish I had a whatchamacallit right now too. But apparently you can just get them anywhere. I'm going to get one. I agree. I love our lizard family. It was such an honor to get to run the 5K and the 10K with everyone and then cheer the lizards for the half and the full. I'm telling you. Jody was out there again, part of that comeback story. But it was so awesome that she didn't just do that. She was out there cheering us on too. Like she is the ultimate teammate, the ultimate team player. And just again, inspirational. Like it was just awesome. So I'm again, I'm so glad that it's one of those things like people ask me, being a former teacher, when I used to be a teacher, I would talk to parents a lot, and a lot of time, first time parents, asking about, all kinds of stuff besides just the academics. Like, should my kids play sports? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, your kids should play sports because you learn much more about much more in sports than just like, dribbling a basketball or fielding a ground ball or whatever. And being a part of a team is such a special thing. And I'm 52 years old, and I can't tell you still at this point in my life how special it feels to be a part of a team. And just like that with Jody, like I'm proud to be a teammate with her because I draw inspiration from her. Like the comeback she's gone through is a devastating injury, and she's had to fight through physical therapy. I mean, I can't imagine all the therapy sessions she's been through and the surgeries and so forth. But because I know like what a grind is, right? I mean, I put my nose to the grindstone on the treadmill every morning because I know that it's a process. It's something that you have to work through. If you want to get results, you got to stay true to the process. And I know that she's done that in spades because she has to get back, and she has. And to know that I have a teammate like that, that makes me proud. When I get to see her down, it makes me proud. And I know we have so many of those stories on our team. And that's why I want to do my part every morning on that treadmill and post it, because I like that accountability that, you know what, I'm doing my part. I hope you're doing your part. And we're all getting there together. We're collectively making our team better. I like that. I like being a part of a team. I like that. That's why I love our lizards. It's really cool. When I see everybody's selfies, it just makes me happy. Michael down in Alabama posting a smiling selfie, or Scott, or Scott Egger, whoever it is, like anybody posting their selfies, Richard out in West Virginia, he does so many races, all these folks, it makes me happy seeing all the great, Charlotte posting hers. Like, it's just, everybody is doing their thing in their corner of the world, grinding. And it shows determination. Okay. So there's that. So if you have feedback about this show or any show, which I hope you have feedback about this show, post it for next week, patreon.com/BeOurGuest podcast. Okay. So what's the big story right now? It's playing on my TV here in the studio. I have it on AccuWeather. Snowmageddon, right? We're all going to die of the snowstorm. Probably not, but that's what the news has told us for the last 5 days. The flakes have just started flying in the last 2 hours at the Be Our Guest Podcast Studios. Yes, it is happening. So we are forecast currently to get 8 to 12 inches of snow here in Weldon Spring, Missouri, where the studios are. I'm looking out the window. I hadn't looked here. I've been looking at the camera for about the last 20 minutes. They are coming down sideways and giving you the live weather report at the studios. They're coming down pretty heavy right now. Actually, in the backyard is almost covered. It was not covered when we started this show. So it is coming down pretty hard. I'm telling you, we're getting snow. So, and this is at, let's see, it's 4 degrees Fahrenheit at 10:09 a.m. on Saturday, January 24th. So it's happening, people. It is happening. Now, they're saying we're going to get like 2 inches today, and then probably like 6 to 8 tomorrow. So there's going to be a little wave today and then mostly tomorrow. But I thought what I would do is share just random, like a few stories from the past of just related to snow. One of the things I liked as a kid was when I was a kid, I went to a private school, like a private elementary school, and like we would have these, and you know what, I did this even as a teacher. We'd have these like book boxes where when you got done with your work early, and I was always the kid in school that got my work done first, I'd just plow through whatever work was assigned and be done so I could read books. And so I just go grab a book out of the book box or whatever and just read it, right? And I'd always try to find, sometimes there would be books like it was just a collection of short stories on a certain topic. And today I thought I would tell a few stories on snow stories, snowy stories, just things that are related to snow, maybe bits of information on snow. Just we're just here hanging out, right? It's not serious. It's Mike in the Midwest. These are Midwestern stories. First, I'm going to give you a piece of advice about snow. If you ever are a teacher, if you're related to a teacher, if you know somebody that is going to become a teacher, this is more important for anybody that knows like somebody that's going to be that's a student teacher, maybe a kid that's in high school that wants to become a teacher. This is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I read somewhere, or maybe a cooperating teacher told me this, and I thought it was strange at first, but it is spot on. It is spot on. Here's the piece of advice. I can tell you this. Now, this only would affect people that are in places where it snows. but I was. If you're a teacher in a place where it snows, no matter what is happening, I taught sixth grade, right? I taught sixth grade for most of my career. I taught second grade 1 year. I taught fifth grade 1 year, but mostly sixth grade. No matter what's happening, when the first snowfall happens of the year, doesn't matter if you're teaching the most important math lesson, you're taking a test, whatever's happening in your classroom, you stop what you're doing. You let your kids get up, the whole class, all 27 of them, if you have 27 that year, you all go to the window and you watch it snow for about 5 minutes because it's the coolest thing ever. Because you're not getting, the kids aren't going to pay attention to the lesson at that moment anyway. And you know what? I wasn't either because I'm the biggest kid ever. When it snows, I'm always looking out the window. So that's a big piece of advice I can give any future teachers. The first snowfall of the year, it's going to capture the imagination of every kid in your classroom. Don't fight it. If you're in the middle of a science lesson, social studies lesson, reading lesson, whatever it is, stop what you're doing. Once you start to see those, if you're peeking out the back window, if you're in the front of the classroom, the kids are all looking at you, you see the flakes flying, one of those kids is going to notice. Just say, "Whoop, hey, look, it's snowing." Don't fight it. Steer into it. Enjoy it. And you know what? Enjoy it with your kids. That's the thing. I think some teachers are scared to like if you enjoy the moment with your kids, to let your guard down. Treat your classroom like a family. That's what I learned in my later years of teaching, is that classroom is a family, right? You want the kids to trust you as a teacher and to see you got to be the leader. You got to be strict. You got to be stern. You got to be the person who is of authority. They have to respect you 100%. There has to be consequences. There has to be clear rules. There's right and wrong. There's rules. There's going to be consequences. If you don't turn your homework in, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. There's definitely consequences. There's right and wrong. There's consequences all the time. But there's also safety. There's also, the ability to laugh. There's the ability to have this warm moment when, like a family can look out the window and watch it snow and share memories. You can also be human as a teacher and let them know that when I was 12, this was the coolest thing in the world to me too, because I grew up where I taught next door to Pam, by the way. I taught in Florissant, or I grew up in Florissant. My school was in Florissant. So I'd tell them, you know what? I hope it snows for another 5-6 hours, because when I was your age, we'd go to Killer Hill right after school. They'd be like, "Ooh, Killer Hill. What's Killer Hill?" And I'm like, "Killer Hill is what we called the hill over at McClure." And they knew McClure because McClure was one of the or McClure North. They knew that because that was one of the high schools in our district. Now, they probably didn't call it Killer Hill anymore, but maybe they did because it wasn't like as PC. But I'll give you another story. So Killer Hill. So in our town, we had the Civic Center. We called it the James Egan Center later because it was named after our mayor that passed away. But we called it the Civic Center, and it was obviously where the swimming pool, the indoor swimming pool was, the ice rink. It was, the place, the gymnasium. It was, our town's Civic Center. But across the street from that was where I ended up teaching the Gifted Center, but it was also the high school, the McClure North High School, the old junior high, was all that campus. But on the one end of the campus was a big hill. And on that hill, when it snowed, it kind of went, whoop, it had like a little halfway down, it had a little like plateau, and then it went down again. And when it snowed, that's where all the kids in Florissant went sledding, and it was called Killer Hill. And so I grew up in Florissant, and so whenever it would snow big, you would get your butt over, you'd ride your bike, and I had to ride like 15 minutes in the snow to get over there on like my old BMX, like Huffy bike. And it was hard. And by the way, when I was a kid, you had the saucer sled, like just the plastic saucer sled. We didn't have like the runners. Like my grandpa had like a runner sled, like the sleigh, with like the iron blades. But we had the saucers in the 80s. So I get that, you get all like your moon boots on and stuff. And we'd go up there. Man, we had so much fun. And, we even took Paige and her friends to Killer Hill when, back in the day, because we still taught there and stuff, and kids still sled there to this day. I mean, the hill doesn't go away. It's a hill, but I don't know if they still call it Killer Hill. We did. But man, you would fly down that thing and people would make ramps and we had the best time. But that was one of the good things about teaching in a town where you grew up in the same city, in the same location, is that you had kind of a common background. Like I went to the same restaurants my kids went to. I played in the same parks. I, you know, we had the same lingo. So some of them probably knew about Killer, and I guarantee you their parents probably knew about Killer Hill because that's probably where they sledded. So that was one story, Killer Hill. And so here's what I want you to share though. I know that everybody had a Killer Hill. I don't know if you called yours Killer. Like, what was yours called, and where was yours? Ours was adjacent to the high school. But it was so much fun. I mean, people would bring stuff. They bring like trash can lids and then cover them up with the snow, make ramps. People would get smoked. I mean, because you would fly. This thing was big. I mean, it was a big hill, and people would bring all kinds of stuff to slide down on, trash bags and okay. I mean, and there'd be hundreds of people on this. Now, the big hill in St. Louis is called Art Hill. That's the one that's down in Forest Park, like down in the city. Like if you ever see anything for like, on the news, you always see Art Hill. That's down by the St. Louis Zoo, but this is like for Florissant, where I grew up, Killer Hill. So that's a story. Let's see another story. So let's see. One time, let's see, it was snowing really hard. Now this was back when I worked at the skating rink. Is that I was hardcore with the skating rink, right? I ran the rink and I didn't want it to be closed, even though it snowed a ton. Now, there was no way people were going to come out and go to the skating rink this night. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday afternoon. I'm like, dude, Friday nights are big night. We were open 7 to 11 and we'd have like 400 or 500 kids come up every Friday night. I'm like, we don't want to close. I don't even think our owner cared. And our owner was the one who was going to make the money, not me. I didn't make that much money, but he made the money. So I went to my grandparents' house because they had a snowblower. And in my Ford Ranger, mind you, which a Ford Ranger is like a light pickup truck. If you remember, it was a 91 Ford Ranger, not very good in the snow. Picked up my grandparents' snowblower, went up to the skating rink, blew off like a bunch of the paths and all that stuff in the parking lot with this snowblower so that we could have a session that night because that's how much I wanted to open up the skating rink. Well, plus because we also had speed skating practice from 5 to 7 before session at 7 to 11. So we were able to have speed skating practice that night and then have session. But that's how crazy I was, right? I mean, it was a big snow too. And I remember being out there freezing that snowblower on the parking lot. It was a pretty big parking lot. My grandpa had a little John Deere. It wasn't a very big snowblower. I mean, you didn't get to snowball very often in Missouri, but it was kind of fun. As snow was blowing. But nowadays you just like, contract a pickup truck with a plow, just and it'd be done like in 3. But this was a long time ago. So the little snowblower out there cleaning off the parking lot. And you know what? Hardly anybody came that night. It was a waste of time, but we had fun. Yeah. But this some of the best nights at a place like a skating rink is when very few people came because we just played crazy music, played crazy games, and had a good old time. Also, let's talk about snow days. Okay, snow days. As a student, now again, old, right? When I was a kid, Pam and I were talking about this the other night, right? Because now you find out 2 days ahead of time. It's on every TV station. It scrolls along the bottom of the TV like a ticker. There's no excitement to that. There's no anticipation to that. It's too easy. When I was in school, and I'm probably a little bit older than you guys. You had one radio station in St. Louis that announced the school closings, and it's that radio station I talk about occasionally on here. It's KMOX 1120 News Radio. They had the Cardinals, they had the Blues. They were like the big AM radio station I loved. It's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I used to listen to them all the time. But you had to listen at the top of the hour. So you had to be on at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. They would at the very top of the hour, they carry the national news. Like it'd go bing, and then it'd do like the CBS national news for like 4 minutes. And then after that 4 minutes, it would go to the local news. And they do local news for like 4 minutes. And then they would go, okay, time for the school closings. And they would do all the school closings in St. Louis alphabetically. Now, in St. Louis, there are a ton of Catholic schools, a ton of Catholic schools in St. Louis. It's a very Catholic town. So if you were in the S's, there's so many saints. If you're in the S's, you had to wait forever. Now, when I was a kid, I went to North County Christian School. So I was in the ends, so I had to wait forever to get to the ends. I was like, "Oh my gosh." You had to wait through the A's, the B's, the C's, so I could so you had to, like, just sit there, "Oh my gosh." And then, like, the anticipation was building up once you got close to the ends, like, the beginning of the ends, like, "Oh my gosh, am I gonna hear?" And when you heard I remember as a kid, because I used to love a good snow day, you'd hear, "North County Christian School," and then you'd be so nervous because our school sometimes would be like, "Open on a snow schedule." You'd be like, "What?" Because we didn't have buses. So that was the thing, is like they could do open on a snow schedule where you that meant you just came in like at 10 o'clock instead of like 7:30 or 8 o'clock. That was the worst. That was like getting sucker punched. So you didn't want that. You just wanted to hear closed. And so most of the time it would be closed. You'd be like, yeah. So it'd be 6 in the morning. You're so jazzed up, you can't go back to sleep. So you just, hang out and like, oh yeah, let's go. But yeah, so that was it. But I mean, if you missed it, you had to wait a whole nother hour to read the billion schools in Missouri, in St. Louis, to see if you're off again. So that was when I was a kid. They weren't on TV at all when I was a kid. That was it. You just had to listen to Camel X, and if you missed it, you had to wait a whole another hour. So that was it. Now, when I was teaching, that was when it started going to TV. Okay. So I started teaching in the late 90s. It started going to TV, but we had this, we got this new phone system when I was teaching. And I thought I was very cutting edge with our phone system because we had voicemail. I know this sounds really cutting edge, right? Again, I sound so old. So when we got these voicemails, we got different kinds of like voicemail lines. And I set up something in for my parents loved this. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. I had it in my classroom and it was called the homework hotline. So what I did and it was super simple. What I did was, because I taught sixth grade, right? So my kids had homework in almost every subject every night. Not a lot, but they had like math assignment every night. They'd have like a vocabulary assignment every night. They might have a science or social studies assignment every night, but they had a little bit of homework every night in almost every subject. And so what we did was, in my class, my kids had planners. So at 3 o'clock, we'd always fill out our planners. We did it together. And then they would take the planner home to show their parents, and the parents could like look at their planner and then look at their homework to see if they got their homework done every night, right? Ideally, that's how it's supposed to work. Not all my kids filled out their planners correctly, because I told them, I'm not checking your planners every night. You're getting ready to go to middle school. That's you. I'm not your mom. I told them that. And so the solution to this was, what I would do before I left every day, I would get on this voicemail and I would just read the assignment board on the homework hotline. So I'd say, "It's Mr. Rallman. Here's the homework hotline for Friday, October 23rd, 2026. In math, tonight's homework is to do page 26, numbers 2 through 26, just the even problems. In social studies, label the continents of Africa, or label the countries in the continent of Africa, whatever, and color the map." So I just read the assignments into the homework hotline. Have a good night. See you on Monday. And so what that did was, the parents could then call our school number, the school phone number. They would type in 1137. That was the code to my classroom. I was in classroom 137. They would just type in 1137 for the homework hotline, and they would hear that recording. So even if their kids didn't write down the assignments in their planner, they could call and get the assignments every night. So that, they could just hear me say them. So they thought that was the coolest thing ever, because they could just bypass their kids not writing the homework down. And they could be like, did you do the math? Because Mr. Rallman says the math is due tomorrow. And the kids got busted. So I thought that was cool. Anyway, what I would do, as soon as I found out we had a snow day, the kids love this, because we always had the snow chain, right? So like we would call each other, so in our school, and this is how it was probably in every school, the principal got the call first from the uppers, like the superintendent or whatever. And then the principal would call the vice principal. Then the vice principal would call the secretaries. The secretaries would call, a couple people, and then it would work its way. Like we all had to call a couple people. And so as soon as I found out, I would put it on the homework hotline. I'd be like, Rawlins class, no school tomorrow. And so my kids be the first to know. And I'd tell them the night before because I was always telling them like I'm a fake meteorologist. I'm like, I love weather. And I'd always give them odds. I'd say, I don't think we're gonna have school tomorrow. I said, now you got to come if we have school. But I was like, it's looking like we're gonna have a snow day tomorrow. I'm saying 80% chance of no school tomorrow. I'm telling you, it's looking good. I was like, but call the homework hotline and I'll update you. So I would put it on there, and those kids be so jazzed. And I'd have the whole school call my homework hotline, not just my class, because like siblings would call, and they thought and my parents would crack up because my parents would be calling, wondering if we had it or not. Like it became a thing, and so that was one of the things too. But snow also, other stories like I used to go shovel driveways for money. I think every kid did that back in the. I don't even know if anybody does that anymore. Nobody comes around here and asks to shovel our driveway. I wish they did. They don't. I don't know. So that's just a few of the stories. I don't want to go too long here because we're already about 35 minutes. But what I'd love you to do is share a few stories on the Patreon. Like, what are your snowy stories? Did you ever plow a skating rink a lot, or what did you do that kind of relates to snow? I love these just small stories. Let's share those because I think that life just gives you events that lead to fun times in life. Like it's a snowy day today. And is it going to make you maybe stay inside? Yeah. But maybe Pam and I'll play a couple games of pool and make a bowl of chili. You know what? That's a good Saturday. It's not a bad thing. It's about what makes life fun. So just a couple stories, not anything life shaking, but hopefully it brings back some good memories for you. And maybe I'll go out to Killer Hill this afternoon. Now I'm going to Disneyland. If I go to Killer Hill, those races might not be happening next weekend. So I'm smarter than that. My Killer Hill days are OVER. That'd be bad. Anyway, hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you're doing well. I thank you so much for your support of the Be Our Guest podcast. Hope this brought back some good memories for you. And most importantly, hope you're staying safe and warm and healthy in this storm. That's the most important thing. So until we talk again, you guys, appreciate y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you real soon.